Welcome back to GB Guns. We've got the Draco 9S. Yeah, a little bit different. If you're smart on things, you've already spotted what's different. We're going to do a tabletop review, take a look at the fit and features, and show you how this thing is built. Coming up next. So the Draco 9S is a 9mm Draco built by Kugier, the same Romanian factory that does the regular Dracos. So this is a Romanian 9mm large format pistol that has some interesting features to it. We're going to start off at the front and I will work my way back. Inside, how this is built is kind of cool to me. You see, 9mm AKs really aren't anything new. In fact, I have one from 2015 that I bought from Definitive Arms that was new to me then and I thought was super cool. This thing shoots softer and is built with a little more, I guess you could say, experience and what things comes over time of doing 9mm AKs. So it's kind of a neat setup in here. Let's get started. Before we dive too deep, I do have to mention I have this in for a magazine article, so some details will be left out of the video. You're going to have to wait for the magazine article to see that. But as a writer and a YouTuber, I try to bring you guys, the YouTube audience, along on some of these writing assignments. Starting up front, yes, I swapped it off camera, the muzzle nut that comes included with plenty of index spots and flats to make it easy to get off is 1/2x28. That is great news for US 9mm shooters because that means your cans will fit and any 9mm muzzle devices are going to fit, which I think is pretty cool. Come into our front sight post and you see it's got kind of a funky angle to it, and it looks like what's normally the gas tube cover is pushed into there, because it is, because this doesn't have any piston up here. That's right, like most, well, all that I know of 9mm AKs, it's not truly an AK in that it's not gas piston operated. It's direct blowback like your standard 9mm PCC type things are. Coming on to the furniture, we've got standard Romanian furniture that, as best as I can tell, is standard AK size, which means any of your aftermarket AK furniture that you want to slap on to do something like, oh, say, have a rail here, or change from the flat side to the swollen side, which is my preference, that's easily done. You do have a sling loop up front. Our rear sight block is graduated out to 400, and at our recent publisher event, we were taking some long shots with this. It is doable, which is pretty cool. And you might have noticed that, of course, you've got your elevation adjustment here, but the front sight post is a driftable and turnable drum, just like on a standard AK. You might notice here the dust cover is shaped a little bit differently. That's because for 9mm it's a very, very short bolt throw. That's it. Back forward, and because of that reason, you notice this doesn't quite go far enough back to have a bolt hold open safety option, so that's not on here. We have a polymer adapter to be able to run the Scorpion mags, which is where the S comes from, and from Sentry it comes with a standard capacity Magpul Scorpion mag. The fit is a little interesting. It kind of goes in soft. You see that play there as it springs back into place. I found that peculiar and a little odd at first, but it ran fine for me at the publisher's event. We'll of course be testing this gun a lot more, including with some other aftermarket Scorpion pattern magazines, to see how those fit. Looking deeper inside there, you can see that it still has linkage from a standard AK, and that this receiver length is standard AK. Now in the past with 9mm AKs, that has caused potential issues in that the bolt can throw too far and you can end up with a casing getting down in the trigger and all that kind of stuff. I'll show you how Kugier and Century Arms have figured out a stop for that. We don't have any rail on the side of the receiver, but that's okay because we've got rail up top on the dust cover, and it is a hinged dust cover, which is kind of neat. This rail feels to me to be a high density polymer. It's not aluminum, but it's certainly firmer than your standard plastic. So keep that in mind if you're cranking any optics down onto it. Standard pistol grip and trigger group, and keep in mind that since this is a pistol, it doesn't have 922R issues, so you don't have to worry about how many foreign and US parts you have on it. Handguns, you can do whatever you want. On the back end, we have a pivoting spot here for the rest of the sling, and you notice the dust cover does have a reinforcement on the bottom there, which I find is a little interesting and different. Next, we'll field strip the Draco 9S, take a look inside, and I'll show you what they did that's a little bit different. In field stripping the Draco 9S, if you want to avoid an idiot scratch like I have on mine, because, well, I didn't know this first, flip up the rear sight tang, otherwise when this pivots it's going to drag on the sight. You're going to push down, or push in rather, on this rear piece just like you would a standard AK, and the dust cover pivots up and out of the way. This is what I meant by hinged dust cover if you're new to this stuff. Pushing further in on that recoil assembly gets it out of its track, brings it up and out, and you see how short it is. And then we can't get the carrier out until we get to this polymer piece out. This piece here is what helps prevent the bolt from over traveling. Now you're seeing it come over the top, but there is a step there. That helps keep the bolt from going too far out. It also means that the bolt cannot get to the exit point in the internal rails here. So to get this out, you just got to kind of pry and work it back and forth, and then it flips out. It's a hard polymer piece. Seems pretty tough and durable. How many rounds is it going to last? I don't know. To get the carrier out, there's a cutout here in the receiver. We're going to have to bring the carrier back to it, and then it can come out, and you can see that we've got a rather short looking piston. That's because this isn't a piston, it's effectively just adding to the overall weight. A direct blowback system like this relies mostly on the mass of the carrier to keep the chamber closed long enough. So this is purely weight. What's kind of neat about converting an AK to run like this is by having weight forward like this, you've got less shifting of the weight forward and rearward, if you will, and I was really surprised when I shot this for the first time how smooth it felt, and that's because unlike, say, a 9mm AR, where you've got the carrier starting in the middle and then coming rearward on you and then going back forward, this is all kind of forward of you, and you have this much weight remaining still relatively forward in the gun throughout the stroke of the piston, or of the carrier. See, it's a unique 9mm bolt with an extractor to kick things up to the side. Did notice too the charging handle has a rather cupped shape. That takes a little bit getting used to. You have to get your hand in closer to the gun, so you'll want to watch out not to drag your hand across the safety lever here. However, that also keeps the gun from being as wide overall. Usually the charging handle is a big part of the overall width of an AK, so this makes it for a lower profile, easier to pack setup. Looking inside, you'll see what appears to be a basically standard AK trigger setup with the non-braided springs, which I'm all for that. I don't like braided springs. They can be quite obnoxious. The safety lever appears to be the same as well, or basic standard AK, so I believe we've got parts interchangeability there if you're the type that feels the need to do that. Here's our ejector. It is a beefy piece of metal, dual screwed in there to help kick things out. I imagine that if these screws were ever to walk loose, that's when you start seeing weirdness with the ejection. Our front trunnion looks a bit different, and you can see the barrel pressed in there, as well as this nice large feed ramp. The barrel has a little divot in the middle to help divvy up, because this is a dual stack, dual feed magazine setup, so you've got rounds coming alternating from left and right, and that little divot bit in the middle should help keep from rounds getting too sideways on the way in. As far as what does it feed and not feed, we'll test that out for the article. Of course, running a variety of hollow points and things, which is typically when your direct blowback setups like this start to get a little bit piggy. Curious to see if this one runs well on them or not. My old Definitive Arms 9mm AR certainly had some that it liked and some that it didn't. Reassembly is the reverse of all this. I'm not going to bore you with watching all that. You go bolt in first, then getting this guy back in place, and it goes in that direction, oriented like this. You're your recoil assembly, close the cover, and that's it. So just a quick look at what's actually a pretty cool setup. Neat that it's from the same Kujier factory, that everything is the same Romanian quality that you've come to expect, but running off of Scorpion mags, which I personally don't have a lot of experience with, but I know there are plenty of folks who are fans of these things, or have leftovers because they bought a Scorpion before realizing they should have had a Streetbog. So, don't know if we'll take you guys to the range for the range portion of this, because like I said, this is a magazine article piece. But you can rest assured we're going to test other patterns of magazines, as well as several different types of loads through the thing to see how the gun runs. Thanks for watching.